This movie's got balls in a liberal's mouth. But let's start from the beginning. Citizen Vigilante is a movie for people who are tired of seeing crimes go unpunished, judges facing no accountability, and fucking leftists coming in their skirts every time another repeat offender walks free. This movie serves as a way to blow off some steam without committing to something stupid. It's a Uwe Boll film. Despite being notorious for making shitty movies, Uwe Boll has also made some really good ones, like Postal, Darfur, and the Rampage trilogy. I don't remember Attack on Wall Street that well, but I do remember liking it, so there's that. Despite some woke-tards already calling this movie racist, xenophobic and ethnocentric, it's nothing like that. Because the protagonist has punished everyone, white, chocolate and caramel people, and he never chose his targets based on race, ethnicity or religion. The main idea is that when the law doesn't work in honest people's favor, the law can go fuck itself. Of course, Germany's censorship had to be a pain in the ass for this movie. They didn't just slap it with an extreme rating, they refused to rate it at all, which effectively made it banned in Germany. It's also blocked from release and distribution in the UK, Taiwan and South Korea. Let me tell you about the protagonist. His name is Michael Sanders. He's a millionaire who inherited his father's real estate business. He's also an ex-military officer, which explains his proficiency with guns. If you expect this to be a knight in shining armor kind of story, forget about it. Our main guy, despite having reasonable motivations most of the time, is neither good nor bad. On one hand, he whacks criminals regardless of their ethnicity or other irrelevant factors, and punishes judges who let offenders walk free. On the other hand, he blasts an entire SWAT team and causes a car accident involving a random guy just to make a point to a semi-conscious woke judge. And that's a good thing. It makes for a more realistic and interesting story. What I think the main message of the movie is that if things in Europe, Canada and the US keep going like this, we'll start seeing vigilantes like him in real life. But since most people aren't military experts with vast resources, there will be collateral damage, and most of those willing to act won't exactly be paragons of virtue or mental stability. Our protagonist brings up an interesting point, that the state, the courts and the police haven't failed people, because they were never meant to deliver justice in the first place. Their only function is control. As for his personality, we don't really get much. He frequents a bar, works out, fucks hookers, and does a diligent job as a landlord. He also thinks people are sheep, isn't religious, and doesn't come in his pants at the sight of his conscious leader. That's as much as we get in terms of personality. He's more like a force than a person. Whether that force is good or evil is up to you to decide.
Good and evil are not constants. Their meanings defined by those with power.
Let's talk about how the movie's narrative unfolds. Instead of telling a single, coherent story, the film throws us into a series of seemingly random events from the Vigilante's crusade. It's not a structured beginning to an end arc. It feels more like we're watching fragments of his ongoing activity. Despite this kind of narrative not being easy to work with in a review, as a viewer, I felt completely comfortable with it. Now, this movie is heavily advertised as some kind of crusade against illegal migrant criminals, but that's not really the case, because our guy deals with local scum just as much. As for the movie itself, after watching a few reviews, I expected worse. Something cheaper, but it actually looks pretty good most of the time. That said, it could have been shorter. It's not a long movie, about an hour and a half, but some scenes drag on forever and feel like pure filler. It gives impression that they had a script for 70 minutes and had to stretch it to 89. Despite that, it doesn't feel like a slog. Some of the actors don't seem like professionals, but they mostly handle background roles. The ones who actually have something important to do are all very solid. There's also a pretty graphic sex scene, so if you were planning to watch this with your parents, you probably shouldn't. Maybe with grandma. Let's talk about the star of the movie, Armie Hammer. It's an interesting name. There was a scandal involving him in 2021. In a nutshell, an Instagram account posted screenshots allegedly showing Armie sending sexual messages to various women. The texts were BDSM oriented, and some included the phrase "I am 100% a cannibal." I mean, if eating pussy is cannibalism, then sign me up. Of course, as soon as shit hit the fan, some people made some unpleasant claims about him. Two broads said he was deeply controlling, alleging that he used BDSM dynamics to mask psychological abuse and non-consensual physical harm. Another accused him of cosplaying an illegal migrant and force-feeding her grapes in 2017. Source, trust me bro, as usual. Of course the guy got cancelled. I mean, he's white and male, what did you expect? Anyway, after reviewing the LAPD's investigation, the Los Angeles County District Attorney's Office officially declined to file criminal charges against Hammer, citing insufficient evidence. Did he get uncancelled then? Of course not. Anyway, that's a story for another time. Let's talk about what's good in the movie. First, of course, is the message. The sheer satisfaction of people getting what they deserve after committing some serious bullshit is priceless. Especially the ending scene, where the Vigilante not only caps the little grape feeder, but his entire fucking family for condoning his atrocities. The second strong aspect of this movie is the acting. Armie Hammer does a solid job, no doubt about that, but I also want to pay tribute to Dora Dimic-Racker, who plays a 14-year-old girl who gets force-fed grapes. There aren't many scenes with her, but the ones we do get are extremely intense. It honestly feels like you're watching a real survivor of a group grape feeding incident. And yes, she plays a 14-year-old, but she's actually slightly more mature. Next are the actors who portray the migrant family, and they're also really good. All of them. Mom, dad, little asshole, sister. Stellar performances. You really buy into how scared they get, to the point where you might even start feeling sorry for them. But you won't, because the movie does a good job of reminding you why they ended up in that situation in the first place. I also want to mention Desiree Giorgetti, who does a great job playing Elsa, a woman who only recently woke up from a coma after a group grape feeding and a severe beating. The third strong point of the movie is the vibe. Many superhero stories turn into some tearful "am I doing the right thing" soy boy meltdown. Fuck that. Our guy is legit. He just does his thing because he completely despises the people he targets. Zero hesitation, zero remorse, zero compromise. He feels more like a vengeful spirit than a person, and that's absolutely badass. Now for the cons of the movie. Despite being quite a short film, it still feels a bit overbloated. Some scenes drag on forever, and the whole brothel scene, despite showing some really interesting imagery, doesn't seem to contribute much to the narrative. Or maybe I just missed some grand metaphor. By the way, it lasts 6 minutes and 16 seconds. Maybe that means something? Let's check it out. Well, I'll be damned. Does that mean Citizen Vigilante is a hidden MCU movie? Moving on. This movie contains some of the choppiest editing I've ever seen. It doesn't break the film, since it only happens in a few places, but it definitely gave me a "what the fuck was that" moment. The third issue is that the dialogue sometimes repeats itself. For example, near the end, Vigilante says, "I was wondering if we could have a quick chat." A moment later, "maybe we can have just a little chat." Then, after shooting Yusuf in the leg, "and we're gonna have a little chat." It's always chat, chat, chat. Why not mix it up with talk or conversation? On the other hand, people do tend to repeat themselves in real life, so maybe it was done for realism. But still, he uses the word chat 4 times in that sequence. Anyway, unless you look like this, I'm pretty sure you'll enjoy the movie. It's not perfect, it's not 10 out of 10, but it also isn't some uninspired trash. Zurab, remind me what I want from a movie.
I want to be fucking entertained!
Thanks, bro. And that's exactly what this movie delivers. It keeps you entertained, big time. It's a bold, controversial movie that leans into a specific topic most mainstream movies avoid. And whether you agree with it or not, it's definitely not boring. If you've become a fan of Uwe Boll after watching Citizen Vigilante, let me recommend some other good movies of his. These include Postal and the Rampage trilogy. I personally like the whole thing, but the first movie is definitely the strongest, with the third one providing closure to the main character's story. Last but not least is Darfur, also known as Attack on Darfur. It's about the civil war in Sudan, the Darfur genocide. It focuses on the conflict in which Arabs were killing black populations, as there are significant Arab communities in Africa. By the way, there's also talk about Citizen Vigilante 2, bringing justice to America, with the working subtitle The End of the Somali Scams.
I'd buy that for $1.
That's all, folks.